On Earth, the year was 2243. Humanity had advanced into the stars, exploring distant planets and establishing colonies on the Moon and Mars. The galaxy, however, was filled with civilizations much older than Earth's. Most alien species kept to themselves, but none had ever shown hostility toward humanity. Earth had remained neutral in galactic politics, focused on growing its own society rather than interfering with others. But things were about to change. In the vast halls of the United Earth Council, a group of Earth's most trusted leaders sat around a large table. The room, located in the heart of Earth's capital city, was bathed in soft light. The atmosphere was tense as the council gathered for an emergency meeting. The message that had arrived only hours ago was unlike anything they had seen before. A strange transmission had been intercepted by Earth's deep space sensors. It was a warning from an unknown source, encrypted with an advanced code. After hours of work, Earth's best encryption specialists finally cracked it. The message was brief, but its meaning was clear. The Galactic Empire is coming. For weeks, Earth scientists and diplomats had noticed unusual activity on the outer edges of the galaxy. An unknown fleet had been detected moving toward Earth at an alarming speed. They were on a direct course. After all the years of peaceful exploration, no one had expected this. Humanity had no experience with war against an empire of such size and power. Earth had always been a neutral party, dealing only with peaceful exchanges. But now, it seemed, the time had come to face a new reality. General Marcus Trent, a seasoned leader in Earth's defense forces, stood and looked out the large windows of the council room. He gazed at the stars, his mind racing. Earth had always been protected by its isolation, but now, that would no longer be enough. The Galactic Empire was a name spoken in fear throughout the galaxy, a force that had crushed entire civilizations in its wake. They were coming, and Earth had to decide what to do. "I don't think we can ignore this anymore," General Trent said, turning to face the room. His voice was calm but laced with worry. The message wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. A murmur of agreement spread around the room. Counselor Julia Ruiz, one of Earth's most respected diplomats, leaned forward. "We have to send a message back to them, something that shows we're not afraid, that we won't simply bow down and let them take what's ours." "But what message?" asked Ambassador Liam Sato. "What can we say to a power like that? We have no fleet. We have no army to speak of. We're just a fledgling species in the vastness of space. What chance do we stand?" Counselor Ruiz's face hardened. "I've seen what humanity is capable of. If they think we're weak because we haven't fought a war, they are gravely mistaken." The debate raged on for hours, with voices rising and falling, but no one could agree on what to do. General Trent believed it was time to prepare for the worst, while others, including Ambassador Sato, argued for diplomacy, hoping the Galactic Empire would reconsider. Then the silence was broken by a voice from the far end of the room. It was President Elena Vargas, Earth's leader. She had been quietly observing the conversation, her sharp eyes scanning the room. Now she stood and walked to the front. "The answer is simple," she said, her voice carrying authority. "We warn them, but not in the way they expect. We tell them something they've never heard before. We tell them to run." The room fell silent. "Run?" General Trent asked, surprised. "You're suggesting we simply send them a message and ask them to leave?" President Vargas nodded. "Yes, but not just any message. A message that speaks to who we are. A message that tells them we are not to be underestimated. We are not the weaklings they think we are." "How will they react to that?" Ambassador Sato asked. "Do you think they'll listen?" "They will have no choice but to listen," President Vargas said, her tone resolute. "We may not have the weapons they do, but we have something they don't. We have the ability to strike when they least expect it. And that's why we warn them now. before it's too late. The council was stunned. No one had thought of it this way. But President Vargas's plan had a certain strength to it, a power born from confidence and clarity. They were no longer helpless. They had a choice. After a long pause, General Trent spoke again, his voice filled with respect. "I'll have the fleet on high alert, but I'll also make sure every human ship in space is prepared to send the message. We may not have the power, they do, but we will send a message they won't ignore." The Council agreed, and within hours, Earth's most advanced communication arrays were put into action. Across the galaxy, the message was broadcast, reaching the farthest corners of space. To the Galactic Empire, humanity has never known conflict, but you've made a grave mistake in approaching us. You may think we are weak, but we are not. Our message to you is simple. Run. The message traveled faster than light, its echoes reaching the Empire's borders. It was a simple command, but it carried a weight far greater than the Galactic Empire could comprehend. It was a challenge. In the heart of the Empire, their leaders stared in disbelief as they received the message. They had never received such a direct command from another species. The Empire, rulers of vast star systems, who had conquered countless worlds, were now faced with a species they had never considered a threat. The reaction was one of laughter at first. How could a race of humans, still in the early stages of space exploration, possibly be a danger to them? Their scouts had reported nothing of significance on Earth. The humans were peaceful, isolated, and predictable. Surely this was a bluff, a joke. No one had ever dared to challenge the Empire like this. The Galactic Emperor himself, a tall and imposing figure, looked at his advisors. "This message," he said with a grin, "is nothing more than a feeble cry for help. We shall ignore it, and our victory over them will be swift. The humans are no different from the others we have conquered." The message from Earth, simple and blunt, echoed throughout the vastness of space. The Galactic Empire's fleet, which had been marching toward Earth's solar system, now found itself facing an unknown enemy, a species that had no history of conflict and no known power. The Empire had never experienced such a direct challenge. It was almost laughable. In the heart of the Empire's capital, Emperor Tiberius sat in his grand command room, surrounded by his most trusted advisors. His piercing gaze was fixed on the holographic display of the galaxy, showing the position of Earth and its surrounding star systems. The image flickered as the message from Earth was repeated once again, the words still fresh in the minds of his advisors. "To the Galactic Empire, humanity has never known conflict, but you've made a grave mistake in approaching us. You may think we are weak, but we are not. Our message to you is simple. Run." Emperor Tiberius let out a deep laugh, his voice booming across the room. "Run? What a joke! How could a species so new to the galaxy possibly pose a threat to us? We've crushed entire star systems. What can they do?" His chief strategist, General Valeria, stood at attention. A veteran of countless battles, Valeria was one of the most respected figures in the Empire. She watched the Emperor carefully, studying his expression as he processed the message. "Your Majesty," she began, "this message may be a tactic to stall us, a way to make us hesitate. It could also be a bluff. We have no record of any human military power. The scouts we sent to Earth report nothing of concern. They're simply a primitive species with no real weaponry." Emperor Tiberius nodded slowly, still amused. "So, we march forward then. There's nothing to fear. I'll make sure to remind them of their place." He waved his hand dismissively, signaling to his fleet commander, Admiral Soren, who had been waiting nearby. "Admiral, continue the course. Prepare for a show of force. Let's remind these humans that they are nothing compared to us." "Admiral." Soren bowed respectfully, his expression neutral. "Yes, Your Majesty. The fleet will proceed as planned." As the Emperor gave his command, General Valeria's mind was racing. There was something unsettling about Earth's message. Despite her years of experience, she couldn't shake the feeling that the humans were hiding something. But she said nothing. She had no proof, and it was not her place to question the Emperor's decisions. The fleet, which was already en route, consisted of the Empire's most advanced warships. These ships were enormous, equipped with energy weapons capable of vaporizing entire planets. They were a symbol of the Empire's might, and no species had ever dared to stand against them. They were unstoppable. But now Earth had sent a message that no one in the Empire had expected. As the fleet advanced, the vastness of space seemed to shrink. The stars glowed brightly in the distance, but Earth's blue and green planet remained a distant speck on the horizon. The fleet's sensors had detected no unusual activity around the planet. The message from Earth was the only sign of life, and it made no sense. What did they mean by run? The fleet entered Earth's solar system, its ships spread across vast distances, each one a towering symbol of imperial power. The message had been clear. Earth had issued a warning. But what did they expect? A show of mercy? A peaceful negotiation? The Emperor had made his decision. Earth's stubbornness would be punished, and their world would soon be part of the Empire. Admiral Soren turned to his officers aboard the flagship. "Ready the weapons," he ordered. "We will show the humans just how powerless they are." The flagship's engines hummed with power as the massive ship moved closer to Earth. Its weapon systems were online, and the Empire's fleet was prepared for battle. Yet something strange occurred as the fleet approached. A small human vessel, unarmed and unshielded, suddenly appeared on the sensors. It was a small transport ship, the kind used by Earth's diplomats to travel between colonies. The ship was alone, moving swiftly toward the Imperial fleet. It had no weapons, no defenses, yet it boldly approached. Admiral Soren's brow furrowed. "What is this?" he muttered under his breath. He ordered a closer inspection, and soon the transport ship's message was transmitted across the fleet. The message was brief, but unmistakable. "We warned you. Run." For a moment, silence filled the command deck. Admiral Soren stared at the message. He could not comprehend it. Why send a small, defenseless ship with such a message? And why now, when the fleet was already so close? "Are they trying to stall us?" one of the officers asked nervously. "Do they think we'll be intimidated by this?" Admiral Soren clenched his fists. "It's a challenge, but we will not back down. We will crush them, just as we've done to countless other species." He ordered the ship to continue its advance. But even as they did, something in the back of his mind told him that Earth was not as insignificant as they had assumed. Meanwhile, on Earth, the leaders of the United Earth Council were watching the developments with a mix of concern and hope. General Trent stood alongside President Vargas as they watched the Imperial fleet approach on the holographic display. "They're not listening," General Trent said grimly. "They're coming, and they won't stop unless we make them." President Vargas's face was calm, but her mind was working quickly. She had known that the Empire would not simply turn away, but she had hoped for a moment that they would hesitate. The message had been clear, and now they would see how far humanity's resolve could go. "We have one chance," she said softly. "We cannot afford to let them underestimate us. We have to make them understand that we are not weak." "General," Trent nodded. "We've prepared as much as we can, but the real test is coming. The fleet they've sent is far beyond anything we've seen before." "We'll show them," President Vargas replied, her eyes hardening. "We've warned them. Now we have to make sure they understand the cost of ignoring us." As Earth's forces prepared for what was to come, the Galactic Empire's fleet continued to move closer to the planet. The warships, immense and imposing, slowly circled Earth's orbit. The first signs of humanity's defenses were being deployed. Small, inconspicuous ships moving into position, their weapons hidden and ready. On the flagship of the Imperial fleet, Admiral Soren received a final transmission. It was from Emperor Tiberius. "Admiral." The Emperor's voice echoed through the comms. "The humans are nothing. Do not waste time on them. Destroy their planet and send a message to all who dare challenge us." As the Imperial fleet closed in on Earth, something unexpected began to unfold. The Empire, confident in their overwhelming power, had no idea of the storm that was brewing just beyond their sight. Earth had been quiet for so long, but now they would see a force they had never anticipated. Admiral Soren stood at the command deck of the flagship, his fingers lightly resting on the control panel. The vast image of Earth hovered before him. He gave the order for the fleet to prepare weapons, their targets set on the planet below. Earth had defied the Empire's warning, and now they would pay the price. The Empire's ships, armed with powerful weapons that could wipe out entire cities with a single strike, were ready to carry out the Emperor's command. "Target the main cities first," Admiral Soren ordered coldly. His voice carried the weight of years of conquest, but something in the back of his mind still nagged at him. Was this really the end of Earth? Was there more to this planet than the Empire had considered? "Understood, Admiral," replied Commander Lyra, a sharp and calculating officer at the helm. The countdown to attack began, and the fleet's weapon systems powered up. But as the final moments ticked down, the unexpected happened. A single ship, small compared to the massive Empire vessels, emerged from the shadows of Earth's orbit. It was a human ship, old but sturdy, with technology far older than anything in the Empire's records. Its hull was covered in scars from years of service, but it was alive. It was ready, and it had one purpose: the Titan-class ship. Its name, the Resolute, was humanity's hidden weapon, a relic of Earth's first deep space missions. For years, the ship had been in storage, its weapons dormant, its engines cold. But now, with the threat of the Empire looming, it had been awakened. Admiral Soren's eyes widened in disbelief. "What is this?" he muttered under his breath. Titan-class ship was an anomaly. Unlike the smaller, faster vessels the Empire had encountered before, this one was massive, powerful, and designed to endure. It moved with an unexpected grace, its engines roaring to life, sending shockwaves through the void of space. It wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol, a warning to the Empire that the humans had something much greater than they had ever imagined. "The Resolute," Commander Lyra said, her voice filled with shock. "This ship is a legend among their people. It's said to be their strongest, but it should be retired." Admiral Soren frowned. "We have the entire fleet here. They cannot hope to stand against us." But as the Resolute powered up its weapons, the first of its missiles fired with pinpoint accuracy. The Imperial fleet responded, but the ship was too quick, dodging their attacks with a surprising maneuverability. It was unlike anything the Empire had seen before. The Resolute wasn't just strong, it was smart. The first strike hit one of the Empire's warships. The missile pierced the ship's hull with a force that sent shockwaves through the fleet. The warship, a battle-hardened vessel, crumpled like paper under the attack, and within seconds it was a blazing wreck in space. The crew didn't stand a chance. Admiral Soren stood frozen in disbelief. This was not supposed to happen. The Empire's ships were supposed to dominate, and yet here was a single human vessel, defying all odds. "What are they doing?" Admiral Soren demanded. His voice was tight with frustration. "Destroy that ship now!" But the Resolute was faster. It moved with a precision and power that caught the Empire off guard. The Titan ship's weapons, which had been dormant for years, were now fully activated. The Empire's flagship fired, but the Resolute dodged the shots, retaliating with a powerful blast from its energy cannons that struck the flagship square in the center. The flagship shuddered and lurched, its systems flickering before falling silent. The Empire's fleet was stunned. The Resolute, though small compared to their ships, was devastatingly effective. It had become the very symbol of humanity's power. Its first strike against the Empire had crippled one of their strongest ships. "This is not possible," Commander Lyra whispered. "They've had no time to build a fleet. Where did they find this technology?" Admiral Soren's mind raced. The Empire had believed the humans to be simple, naive, and weak. They had assumed that Earth's quiet existence in the galaxy meant they were no threat. But now, they were faced with a battle that was unlike anything they had prepared for. The Resolute fired again, its weapons cutting through the Imperial fleet with the speed and fury of a storm. The Empire's ships retaliated, but their shots missed. The Titan-class ship was too skilled, too fast, and its weapons were too powerful. Within moments, another warship was destroyed. Then another. "What are you waiting for, Admiral?" one of the officers demanded. "We need to stop this ship." Admiral Soren's face was grim as he stared at the display. The human ship was relentless. It had been hidden away for years, but now it had come to life. It was as if Earth had been waiting for this very moment to show the galaxy what it was capable of. "We're under attack," General Valeria said, entering the command room and surveying the damage on the holoscreen. "The Resolute has disabled 2 of our best ships." "Impossible," Admiral Soren muttered. "They must have something else up their sleeves. We've been outmaneuvered." As the battle raged on, more Imperial ships fell. The Resolute was unstoppable, its missiles and energy blasts cutting through the fleet with surgical precision. The humans had been underestimated, but now the Empire would feel the cost of that mistake. Far below, on Earth, the leaders of the United Earth Council watched the battle unfold. The message they had sent, "Run," had been clear. But now it seemed like the tables were turning. They had not expected this kind of response from the Empire, but it was happening. Their weapon, the Resolute, was proving to be more than just a symbol. It was a force of nature. General Trent paced back and forth, his mind still working as he watched the fight unfold. "This is just the beginning," he said, watching the destruction from the safety of Earth's command center. "The Empire thought they were invincible, but we're showing them what humanity is capable of." President Vargas, who had been silent throughout the battle, spoke up. "We've made our stand. Now we show them the cost of their arrogance. The Empire will learn that Earth will not be conquered." The human fleet, still small compared to the Empire's might, was now working in tandem with the Resolute. Their ships, though few, were far more powerful than anyone had imagined. Each attack was a precise strike, weakening the Empire's hold and buying Earth more time. Back in space, the Resolute's next move was a masterstroke. It unleashed a barrage of missiles, sending them towards the Empire's remaining ships. As they detonated in brilliant flashes of light, the Empire's fleet began to retreat, not out of fear, but out of realization. The battle was lost. The humans were not to be trifled with. The battle raged on above Earth's orbit, but the tide had shifted. The once unstoppable might of the Galactic Empire was now crumbling piece by piece. The Resolute, Earth's hidden weapon, had proven to be far more than just a relic of the past. It was humanity's bold statement, a signal that the Empire's dominance was no longer absolute. Admiral Soren stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the devastation unfold on the large holographic display. The once proud and indestructible fleet of the Empire was now in disarray. Ships that had been cruising through space without any thought of failure were now being destroyed. The Resolute was a force unlike anything the Empire had encountered, and every attempt to stop it only made the humans bolder. The Empire's fleet had suffered catastrophic damage, and it was clear that a retreat was the only option left. But Soren was hesitant. He had faced countless battles before, but this was different. The humans were not just defending their world, they were fighting for something more. There was a fire in their actions, a unity he had not expected. "Admiral," Commander Lyra said, her voice tense as she monitored the situation. "The Resolute is closing in on our command ship. We cannot afford to lose it. We must pull back immediately." Soren's hands trembled as he gripped the armrests of his command chair. His pride, his reputation, and the strength of the Empire were all at risk. Yet as much as he wanted to fight back, the reality was undeniable. They were losing. "How many ships remain?" Soren asked. 7 warships and 2 smaller cruisers, Lyra replied. "But they are heavily damaged. We can no longer compete with their firepower." Soren's gaze turned toward the view screen, where the Empire's remaining fleet was scattered across the battlefield. The Resolute had already incapacitated several ships, and Earth's smaller vessels, though fewer in number, were working in perfect coordination to finish the job. "We are done for," Soren muttered under his breath. "Prepare for retreat. All ships, fall back to the edge of the solar system." The command was given, but the fleet's retreat was far from orderly. In the chaos, several ships attempted to flee, but they were met with the full wrath of Earth's forces. The small, seemingly insignificant human ships were relentless, striking where the Empire's vessels were weakest. It was not just the size of Earth's fleets that made them dangerous. It was their precision, their determination on Earth. President Vargas and General Trent stood side by side in the command center, watching the Empire's fleet retreat. Their faces were hard, but there was a sense of disbelief in their eyes. They had warned the Empire. They had made their message clear. And now, Earth was on the brink of victory. "This is it," General Trent said, his voice low but filled with a sense of finality. "We've shown them that we're not weak, and we've made them pay the price for underestimating us." President Vargas nodded but remained quiet for a moment, her gaze fixed on the holoscreen in front of her. She had not anticipated such a swift and devastating turn of events. The Empire had come to Earth expecting to conquer it. They had expected an easy victory, but they had underestimated humanity's will to survive. "There's one more step we must take," President Vargas said, her voice firm. "We cannot simply let them retreat. They have to know that their aggression will not be tolerated. Earth's future depends on this." General Trent raised an eyebrow. "What are you suggesting?" "We need to send a message that goes beyond the fight. We need them to understand that this will not be the last time someone challenges us," she said. "We cannot let them retreat without consequences. We need to show them the power of humanity." Trent thought for a moment, then nodded. "Understood. I'll have our forces intercept the remaining ships." As the Empire's fleet continued to fall back, the humans launched their final move. The Resolute, still in the heart of the battle, powered forward once more. With a roar of its engines, it closed the gap between itself and the remaining Imperial warships. Its weapons, already charged and ready, fired once again, piercing the hulls of the fleeing ships. One by one, the remaining Imperial ships were disabled, their commanders unable to react in time. Meanwhile, Earth's smaller ships targeted the Empire's weaker cruisers, quickly rendering them useless. The message was sent. The Empire had no safe haven in Earth's orbit. There was no way to escape. The flagship of the Empire, now nearly crippled, attempted one last desperate move, but it was too late. The Resolute locked onto the flagship with its powerful energy cannons and fired. The beam shot through the ship's defenses, and in a massive explosion, the flagship was no more. "Victory," General Trent said, his voice calm but filled with pride. "This is it. The Empire has been defeated." President Vargas didn't share the same excitement. She stood still, her hands clasped behind her back. There was a look of quiet resolve in her eyes, as if she was processing the gravity of what had just transpired. They had defeated the Empire, but what did that mean for Earth's future? The galaxy would never be the same. And Earth had just made an enemy of one of the most powerful empires in existence. "We've won the battle," she said softly. But this war is far from over. General Trent turned to her. What do you mean? Earth is no longer just a passive player in the galaxy, President Vargas replied. We've shown the Empire that we will fight for our survival. But the galaxy won't forget this. We've made an impression, and now we must be prepared for what comes next. As the Imperial fleet retreated into the darkness of space, their empire in ruins, the humans on Earth knew that this victory was only the beginning. They had proven their strength, their resolve, and their willingness to defend their home. The message had been received loud and clear. Earth was no longer a species to be ignored. The shattered remnants of the Galactic Empire's fleet drifted through space, far from Earth's orbit. The once mighty ships, symbols of the Empire's power, were now nothing more than burning wrecks. In the vastness of space, the silence was deafening. The Empire had been dealt a blow from which it would take years to recover, if it ever could. But Earth was not celebrating. The victory, though hard-won, was only the beginning of a new chapter. Humanity had faced a great threat, and now it stood in a position of power. But what would they do with that power? What would Earth's leaders choose in the aftermath of this great conflict? Inside the command center, President Elena Vargas sat in silence, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of Earth's orbit. The Empire's retreating ships were still visible, their damaged hulls barely holding together as they fled. The battle had been intense, but now, as the dust settled, she had a hard choice to make. General Marcus Trent stood beside her, his hands clasped behind his back. He had always been a man of action, but now even he felt the weight of the decision that lay before them. They had warned the Empire. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. But what came next? This victory, President Vargas began, her voice steady but filled with concern, is a turning point for Earth. We've proven ourselves, but the galaxy will take notice. The Empire will not forget this. General Trent nodded. You're right, they won't forget. But this also changes everything. The galaxy will now see Earth as a threat. They will either respect us or fear us. That's what worries me, President Vargas replied. Respect and fear are two sides of the same coin. If we choose the wrong path, we could make more enemies than allies. The room was filled with the soft hum of machines and the quiet voices of the officers around them. The victory over the Empire had been hard-earned, but it had come at a price. The Earth had shown its strength, but now the question remained. What would humanity do with that strength? General Trent stepped forward, his eyes focused on the display. The Empire's been humbled, but they're not finished. They will rebuild, and when they do, they'll remember us. Earth will have to prepare for what's next. President Vargas turned to face him. And what about the other species in the galaxy? What will they think of us now? General Trent sighed. We've made a statement. But there are countless other species out there, some of whom may not be as understanding as we hope. They could see us as a threat, just like the Empire did. Our next steps will be crucial. Then we'll have to be careful, President Vargas said, her eyes narrowing with determination. We've shown the galaxy our strength, but we don't want to be seen as aggressors. We must seek alliances, not create enemies. There was a long silence as both leaders weighed the gravity of their situation. Earth had won, but the victory was not without its consequences. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of, and now the real challenge began. How would they navigate the path ahead? In the halls of the United Earth Council, the debate raged on. Diplomatic leaders, military strategists, and scientists gathered to discuss the next move. Some argued that Earth should capitalize on its newfound strength, using it to establish dominance over other galactic species. Others, like President Vargas, believed that Earth needed to take a more cautious approach, seeking to build alliances rather than tear down the galaxy with a show of force. The Empire is not the only power in the galaxy, one diplomat said, his voice filled with concern. If we act rashly, we could make enemies of the wrong species. There are many civilizations out there that may not appreciate our methods. But we've proven our strength, another council member countered. We can't just sit back and let the galaxy walk all over us. We need to take control before anyone else does. The council members debated fiercely, but there was no easy solution. The decision that lay before them would shape the future of Earth for generations to come. Would they stand as the defenders of their home, or would they use their power to expand and conquer? Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the remnants of the Galactic Empire's fleet limped toward the distant reaches of space. Emperor Tiberius had barely escaped with his life. His once proud empire was shattered, its power broken by a species they had long ignored. But Tiberius was not a man to be easily defeated. "Report!" the emperor barked as he stepped onto the bridge of his flagship, the last surviving ship of the imperial fleet. His voice was filled with anger, but also with something darker: determination. "Your Majesty, the fleet has sustained heavy damage," one of the officers reported, his voice trembling. "We've lost most of our warships, and the remaining ships are in no condition to fight. We are retreating to the outer rim." Tiberius clenched his fists, his knuckles white with fury. "We will rebuild. The humans have made a mistake. They have awakened something they cannot control." He turned to his strategist, General Valeria, who stood at attention. "You know what must be done. We cannot allow Earth to go unpunished, General." Valeria nodded, her face grim. "Yes, Your Majesty. But we must be cautious. The humans have proven themselves a formidable opponent. We cannot rush into another confrontation without careful planning." Tiberius turned his gaze to the distant stars. "We will rebuild, and when we do, Earth will regret this day." Back on Earth, President Vargas and General Trent made their decision. Earth would not seek to dominate the galaxy. Instead, they would work to establish themselves as a respected power, not one to be feared. They would offer peace to those who were willing, but they would not back down if challenged. In the months that followed, Earth sent emissaries to the far reaches of space, seeking to establish diplomatic ties with the various species that had watched Earth's rise. They had made their mark on the galaxy, but they had learned an important lesson. Strength was not enough. Respect had to be earned. The days of isolation were over. Humanity was no longer a small player in the galaxy. The victory over the Empire had proven their worth, but now Earth's true test would begin. Would they be able to maintain the peace they had fought for, or would the galaxy's complex web of politics pull them into new conflicts?